Well, a very good evening to you, race fans, and welcome back once again to the Alliance Sim Racing Supercar Championship. This is round 6, proudly brought to you by Supercar St Cobain, and wherever you're watching from this evening, a very big hello to you all. My name is Jared Cole, here on behalf of Simple Racing Broadcasts, and I'm joined in the booth tonight by none other than Josh Harris. And Josh, tell you what, round 6, we're starting to get into the tight part of this championship. And what a way to jump into the second half of this season. We're heading, of course, to Thruxton Airport, one of the fastest tracks on the calendar. It's got some massive high-speed corners and absolutely brutal tyre wear. And I note that you've chosen not to jump into this one this week. Could that be something to do with this track, I wonder?
Look, it's got a little bit more to do with being 800 kilometres from my sim.
Excuses.
But also, no, I've never raced at Thruxton. Watched my good mate Ryan Palmer do a lap the other night and realised that I'm not disappointed to not be racing Thruxton. So, there's some things that, we take, we win some, we lose some, I think is what I'm trying to say here, Jared. And, tough night for the guys tonight, especially when I saw a full reverse grid race too. Probably pretty happy to be in the booth, to be honest.
Yeah, look, and it will be a tricky one. The driver's out on track right now undergoing lone qualifying. 3 20-lap sprint races here this evening. On the upside, the temperature, as always, pretty nice here at Thruxton. The drivers will not have any struggles with weather, but that's probably for the best because they will be struggling with this track, I can almost promise you. It is a very, very tough one. As you said, a full reverse grid for race number 2, which will be an interesting one. The usual 60% fuel restriction in place. And I don't know about you, but Josh, I reckon if you squint just the right way, Thruxton almost looks like a bit of a map of Australia, as always missing Tasmania.
Well, Tasmania's not really Australia anyway, right? Like, I can look. What I would say is that looks like a map of Australia that's been worn down by our summer heat. It's a little melted and gooey, and to be fair, that's probably a really great way to describe how the guy's front left tyre's going to be tonight, because just feels like that front left. You just never stop turning right, Jared. You just spend all night going around to the right. So gooey front lefts is I think the order of the night, and of course no pit stops tonight, so no chance to come and change them.
Yeah, and look, I think that's the big call out here. Really is going to be just how the drivers manage that tyre heat. When you talk about fast right-hand turns and fast tracks generally, I mean, we know Gen 3 supercars aren't the biggest fans of high-speed cornering. Just to give you a little bit of background for Thruxton, for those of you who haven't seen this track before, the official lap record stands at something like 134 miles per hour average speed around this track. The unofficial lap record bumps that up by almost 10 mile an hour into the 140s, which was set in one of the older F1 cars some years back. If that doesn't give you a feel for just how quick this track is, I don't know what else will, but I have a fair idea, and I reckon the best way to start it off is to have a bit of a lap around the circuit, courtesy of Supercar St Cobain, and of course Simon Haynes, as we take a look at tonight's track preview. And we run, of course, in through a fun little chicane here before we do get underway across the start-finish line as we head towards the first turn, Allard, a long right-hander, and that's going to be a theme of the night here tonight. A little bit of a kink back to the left before we get into a very, very tricky sequence of 3 turns. Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave here. Really, really tough to negotiate. The surface is not great. The angles are a bit tricky, and on the way out of Seagrave here, this right-hander, there's a nasty little dip or ridge in the track surface that will absolutely spit you off the track without a problem. Left through Noble, a nice high-speed left just to break it up, and then the long right-hander downhill through Goodwood and down towards Village. As we see Ryan Palmer checking in to the chat, just expressing his sincere love for this track, or not, depending on how you look at it. We come down to the bottom of this, and the right-hander tightens up through Church, and then the long left-hander of Brooklands. It's barely a left-hander. It may as well be a straight, but it is just a slight reprieve on those front lefts. And then the hard braking on the way into Club Chicane. This chicane, I reckon, is going to be the scene of a whole bunch of issues tonight here, Josh. It's a lap around Thruxton. It's that quick. It's that easy. but certainly plenty of opportunity for it all to go wrong, I suspect.
Yeah, Jad, the thing that I notice is that there's not many more traditional old school English circuits than this one. It's based at an airfield, which so many of their circuits are, and it's very Goodwood in that vibe of just fast flowing around the outside perimeter of the airfield. It's going to be a challenge in these cars, Jared. These cars love going fast. They don't mind stopping, and they do okay at turning. They do terribly at even doing two of those things at once, let alone three. And the reality is that a lot of these corners, it's big, long, fast turns where you have to modulate the throttle. I can tell you that to keep the speed up, as soon as you get on the throttle, you start to drive understeer into these cars, Jared. And once you're doing that, you're scrubbing tyres, you're just generating front heat, which is destroying those tyres. It's going to be a challenge. We're going to see people in the grass tonight. And I think you're right about that little chicane at the end. The only saving grace for us, Jared, is that chicane is the last corner and not the first.
Yeah, and look, hopefully by that time the drivers will have a chance to get themselves sorted out a little bit. Before we do get underway with race number 1, let's take a look at the championship standings after 5 rounds in this Solagard Saint-Gobain Supercar Championship. And Wayne Walker sits atop the leaderboard for the moment, but not a great deal in it. Dean Logsdale and Matt Vanderkraan on the podium, and both in a great position to still have a crack at that number 1 spot. Andrew Rushworth not too much further back, and he's closely followed by Luke Orman. A bit of a gap back then to Jason Bentz, who's under pressure from Mark Poynton and Jamie Dyke. Stephen Varga and Damon Fisher round out your top 10 with plenty more battles going on and a few tied positions throughout the rest of your top 20 there. It's still a tight race considering how far into the season we are. There's been a few rounds that have not gone the way of certain drivers, and then there's been a few rounds where people have been missing, and it's all contributed to bring us to this point where we start to get into this second half proper. And there's really not a definitive breakup of the podium at this point, Josh.
No, look, Wayne's got a slightly nice little buffer there with 50 points, but it doesn't take long to blow 50 points in this sort of a league.
No, absolutely not. Lone qualifying just finishing up now. We are about to get ready to go racing for our first 20-lap sprint tonight, and a sincere good luck to all of the drivers. This is how they're lining up to start race number 1. Wayne Walker and Matt Vanderkraan will take the front row ahead of Dean Logsdale and Damon Fisher. Jim Caperonis and Jason Bentz on row 3 ahead of Mark Poynton and Alex Kiedis, with Luke Orman and Mick Clifton rounding out your top 10 in qualifying. James Hardy and Todd Martin behind them, followed by Joel Lustervale and Andrew Rushworth. Then Stephen Varga and Rick Vigar. That's not going to confuse us at all if we have to call them out alongside each other tonight. Josh, they're on row 8. Matthew Fu and Jamie Dyke behind them, with Troy Sipple and David Coleman rounding out the 20. Shane Gudby and Jamie McKnight behind them, ahead of Craig Rose and Ashley Hall. Then Darren Walden and David Logsdale ahead of Andrew Johnston and Brad Hayes. Ken Latta and Ryan Palmer rounding out your top 30, with Tim Nicol, Brad Grant, both in the safety cars this evening. Phil Manuel and Simon Farrington not recording a time here tonight. So the question will be whether they do start on the grid, or if they're planning to perhaps start from pit lane. It's a tough track, very, very hard to avoid running off and picking up a slowdown and ruining your qualifying lap. Noted that this has happened to Ryan Palmer as well, who picked up a slowdown there and couldn't burn it off before the start of the lap. It's a very, very tough track. We're going to see plenty of excursions off into the grass. Thankfully, a huge amount of runoff area being an airfield, so not likely to see too many incidents that result in a safety car, purely by nature of how much space they've got to work with here tonight, Josh. But I think we're in for some very interesting racing, to say the least.
No, it is. It's going to be a lot of fun. And how cool's that blimp shot, right? You can see that track around the outside. These, there is kind of a special place in I think every motorsport fan's heart for these old school British tracks, but they're not necessarily the most exciting. They're kind of just high speed sweeping corners. I'm actually interested to see how this racing goes tonight, Jared. It could be it could be really, really exciting. It could just be incredibly hard to pass because there's not many of those, great big stops that we rely on to produce great racing.
I mean, really, it could be both, couldn't it? It could be incredibly exciting and very difficult to pass. I wonder how much that's going to lead to a bit of frustration for some of these drivers tonight. It'll be interesting, particularly in race 2 with that full reverse grid where you've got typically the fastest drivers in this pack will be starting from the very back and are really going to have to fight their way through on what is a tough track to get a pass done on from what I've seen of it so far. G'day Alistair Bales, welcome on into the chat. It's a shame to not have you on track here for this one, but hope you enjoy the coverage tonight as we get ready to go racing in race number 1 for this evening. A bit of support out there for Andrew Rushworth as well. G'day Super Crusher, great to have you along with us. We are under starters orders. We are just about to get underway. Wayne Walker and Matt Vanderkraan will lead us away here as we have the lights up. The revs rise. These guys loading it up on those trans brakes. We are just about ready to set off. And lights out. Here we go and away for lap 1 of race 1 here at Thruxton tonight, and thankfully a clean start as we get underway and get through this first right-hand turn. Lots of space for the drivers to try and sort themselves out, but have a look at Vanderkraan and Walker immediately out in front. Cold tyres, this is going to be a really tough little section through here. I'm not going to be surprised at all if we see them come together, but all of the drivers taking it very, very carefully. And we've got a bit of a moment there. Andrew Rushworth just dropping to the back of the pack. And as we see, that looks like Damon Fisher is off the track to the right-hand side. The racing will continue on around him. That is Alex Keita spearing off the track there. I don't know if there's been contact in the background. This is what we were saying earlier about the amount of space around this track. I think it's going to keep us from having to worry too much about safety cars here tonight. But Alex Keita's doing his best to aim for the wall. And I think he's got a little way to go before he actually gets there yet. You can see the field already starting to space out pretty significantly behind Walker and Vanderkraan. The cold tyres really, really challenging the drivers tonight to get underway.
Yeah, it's been a challenging start, and it'll be interesting. We should be able to get some replays up sometime, Jared, of a couple of those incidents. I'm not sure whether whatever happened to Rushworth sort of. Or as we see there, I don't know who it was, but someone was hard.
I think that was Matthew Fu, perhaps. And David Coleman, that was Matthew Fu turned around. David Coleman gets running again, although he's caused massive chaos there as he's tried to get it underway. This is going to be, I said we weren't likely to get a safety car. I reckon this is about as close as we're going to get to needing to call one out as Alex Keita jumps to the pits. We haven't seen yet the safety car actually come out of the pits at this point. But it does look as though we're going to keep racing, and I'm not entirely sure what to make of that start now.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges here, Jared, is it is a very, very high speed track, as you said, which does point to the fact that if there's an incident in the middle of the track, it's got the potential to be big because the cars are going fast. They're basically constantly turning. It's hard to pull them up, all that sort of stuff. As we see here, Jamie Dyke makes a huge dive down the inside of, I think that was Todd Martin. And a fantastic effort. And Tim Lawson's in the chat, and he notes with no big braking zones that we expect from these UK tracks, where are the overtaking opportunities? And I think, Tim, that really what you're going to see is drivers doing something similar to what Jamie Dyke just did there, which is making pretty considerable lunges in braking zones that probably aren't in reality big enough. And I think that what that also means is you're going to have to be a decent amount quicker than the car in front to be able to get that pass to happen.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's going to be really, really tough as David Collins struggling to get that car around the track at the moment. Jamie Dyke rolls on past while everyone starts to just settle into their rhythm here. No safety car yet. Let's take a look at some of the early action that we didn't think was going to happen for a moment there, and it all started with Andrew Rushworth just getting caught up, a little bit of a nudge there, and then contact from a couple of sides has pushed him back and forth, and he's ended up just sitting and waiting for the traffic to pass him. Then a couple of moments, obviously Damon Fisher and Jason Bentz getting caught up in that as well, but Alex Keita went absolutely spearing off as we keep an eye on this one. Hardy up the inside of Oosterwald here. A little bit of contact. Oosterwald gets pushed out to the outside of the track, and the two quantum cars come together. Hardy and Benz making contact. Stephen Varga probably shaking his head at his teammates there as he closes in behind Oosterwald now. He'll be looking to get past. Joel Oosterwald will have his heart set on getting past both of these quantum cars as they battle it out with each other. And sure enough, Oosterwald back on the inside, gets past Hardy. Now he'll look to charge after Bentz up ahead. Immediately behind, though, here comes Vargs and Jamie Dyke, who's managed to go round the outside as the two quantum cars come together. Jamie Dyke makes the best of it off the track in the grass. He's probably going to pick up, if not a slowdown, at least a couple of incident points for that one. But it has worked out for the best as the quantum boys just can't seem to get it sorted out tonight. Hardy, Martin and now Troy Sipple in a group behind. Jamie Dyke just starting to pull away.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, Jared, the way that, we've just talked about how hard it is going to be to pass here. A couple of guys ended up getting some, terrible qualifying. A couple of guys that we're looking at right here, Ken Latta, Ryan Palmer, not the slowest in supercars, that's for sure, but they're up 13 positions respectively. So both of them qualified at the back of the pack with poor qualifying, and they have absolutely stormed through. So I guess that they're going to be a good place to start if we want some tips on how you pass in a Gen 3 supercar at Thruxton.
Yeah, look, plenty still going on. Have a look at this pack down towards the back. The battle for 22nd behind then Logsdale, Farrington, Johnston and Rushworth all swapping positions left, right and centre. Contact there. Farrington keeps going. That's Johnston spun around. Now, I don't think anything in there that Farrington's going to feel like he needs to redress, so he'll carry on as Andrew Rushworth now jumps onto his rear bar. Brad Hayes sticking with them in the background as well. We've got a little bit of a mid-pack going on, and it's almost all quantum cars at the moment. Martin Hardy and Sipple holding the line there with Jamie McKnight and Rick Vigard just behind them. So the three quantum racing cars just controlling this for the moment in this battle for 11th. I want to go back and take a look at see just what happened to Alex Kiedis that sent him spearing off the track in that early stage. And there it is. So he's got a bit of contact and just a bit of a nudge with the quantum car. And once you're out on the grass, wheels locked up, sliding forever. That is a long, long drive back to the track. You may as well jump onto the runway at that point.
Yeah, I would have been. I would have been straight for that piece of tarmac and working out exactly where I could pop back out on the track. But as you said, that's a long, long way back. And a real shame for Alex there. It wasn't a huge hit and he found himself out in the middle of Nowheresville.
Yeah, and there's so much infield there. You can easily get lost, I reckon. It wouldn't be too hard to just not be able to figure out where the track is. You could just got to look for the other cars, really, to figure it out. A bit of support out there tonight for Dean Logsdale and, of course, Ryan Palmer. G'day, Lucas. Good to have you along. And Simon Haynes checking in, mate. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much, as always, for the track drive tonight. I can absolutely understand why you might have decided not to jump in the car for the race tonight after that. Jason Bentz has picked up the black flag for the earlier incident, so he'll be receiving a drive-through. We'll have to serve that shortly. Ryan Palmer and Ken Latta side by side as they head towards the chicane. Ryan Palmer's got the better line here. He'll be on the inside through the braking zone. Ken Latta, though, very, very quick in that fishy Mustang. He's going to drop in behind as they bounce over the curbs and through the chicane. It really narrows up to there, only really a single line through there. And Ryan Palmer picks up another spot. He's up into 16th and continuing to move. Darren Walden now making the move up the inside of David Logsdale in about the same spot. They come through this left-hander, then hard on the brakes, back to the right. It's a really, really tough track to negotiate. As you can see there, Darren Walden struggling to get that car turning. Just so much understeer. And he's picked up a very small slowdown there. It's not going to be enough, though, for Logsdale to make anything of it. Now Ken Latta finds himself behind Vigar and Hardy. This little battle is going to cause some issues. He's managed to get past Ryan Palmer in the blink of an eye. We barely looked away, and Ken Latta's absolutely monstered him. And then contact there. Latta into the side of Hardy. Turns Hardy. Ooh, just saves it. Now Latta's in danger of getting turned as well. Hardy barely manages to hold it together. And somehow, no one's gone off track in amongst that. But Ryan Palmer says, thank you very much. I'll be back in front of Ken Latta again.
Yeah, look, I'll absolutely take my hat off there to Hardy. That was a bit of fantastic driving. That could have very quickly been a car backwards and all sorts of body panels sprayed everywhere, but he's done a fantastic job to hold that together. I'm not sure what happened to Palmer to see Ladder get in front of him, but they are back now racing, and we see Ladder immediately poking the nose up the inside. Now, one interesting thing, Jared, these guys are up 16 and 14 positions into 14 and 15 respectively, so they have come through half the field. Now, obviously, every car that they pass is a little bit faster than you know, the last one that they did. We're halfway in now. I'm really interested to see at what point does their run stall, because in reality, probably one of the best places for them is somewhere here with a full reverse grid coming up, Jared, because they've just passed the back half of the field and done it reasonably easily, might I add. If they stay where they are, we invert the field and they get to pass them again to go marching back to the front.
Yeah, and that's going to be a very, very interesting one indeed, as we see Jane McKnight and Rick Vigo coming up towards that chicane. McKnight on the brakes, the exhaust flame just telling us he's shifting down through the gears here. Ryan Palmer closing in massively behind them, just absolutely zeroes out that gap. On the exit though, McKnight and Vigo both getting the power down just a little more efficiently. Ken Ladder still glued to the back of Palmer's car. This is really the closest battle on track, is this group here that we're watching in what is really a battle for 12th behind Jane McKnight. Plenty of cars in it. A bit of movement elsewhere in the field, but really have a look at that top end of the tower. We're almost halfway through race one here, and just a huge amount of separation between the front runners.
Yeah, there absolutely is, and that was the point that I was making just before, Jared, is, you know, how much harder it's going to get for Ladder and Palmer to continue moving forward. There's a bit of potential here for them to get Vigar and Jamie McKnight, you know, but even getting to the back of Todd Martin, who is, you know, 1.8 seconds down the road, is going to be challenging. We go back here and we see Farrington. Yeah, is that a little bit of payback for the earlier incident, which I do believe involved Farrington and a Quantum car? I'm not sure whether it was the same one. There's about 35 of them out on track tonight, Jared. It's always hard to remember which Quantum car is which, but I just wonder whether that's just a little bit of, you know, hey, we didn't forget what you did before.
Wouldn't be the first time that there's been just a little bit of a nudge here and there, all in good fun and good sport, I'm sure. As Phil Manuel carries a bit of a slowdown ahead of James Hardy here, so that should bring these three cars up towards him. Logsdale and Cudby both tacked on the back of Hardy's 666 Quantum Camaro. And yeah, have a look at the slide out of this complex here. There's just such an uneven surface and so easy to light up the rear tyres, even just a little. You're not going to see, you know, full-blown drifting and burnouts on the way out, but it's enough to get the car sliding, and all that's going to do is ramp the temperatures up in the tyres. Thanks for sticking around, Lucas. Enjoy the rest of your evening, mate. We'll certainly see you on the replay, I'm sure. But yeah, it's going to be so hard for them to manage tyres the whole way through. Like, this is a very, very fast race, and you can see already that the grip just isn't there in a lot of ways for a number of these drivers, as we see Todd Martin just getting swallowed up after a bit of an earlier moment that saw him lose that front bar. James Hardy really struggling with the chicane that time and almost getting rear-ended fairly unceremoniously by Logsdale. They've got it sorted out. Logsdale will be up the inside here, and Shane Cudby, the privateer, looking to follow him through as well. It's all right-handers except for these couple of key lefts. And James Hardy pretty well positioned, although Logsdale really having a very big look up the inside. He's going to force his way through. Now, can Cudby follow, or are they going to come together here? This is dangerous. Shane Cudby wisely backs out of it a bit. Hardy doing everything he can to open that corner up a bit, but it's going to cost him time, and of course going to cost him a bit of tyre life as well. And Logsdale, just like that, has gone through and will continue to move up. We'll jump back forward to this battle that continues behind Jane McKnight. Not a lot of change at the moment. McKnight and Vigar still out in front of Palmer and Ladder, and no one really able to get it too much closer together at this stage. Jason Bentz just ripping past Stephen Varga here, so the two teammates probably just chatting about best strategy at this point as they bounce on over that chicane. It's a very, very awkward sort of corner to try and negotiate at the best of times, much less at full race pace. Now, have a look at this. Rick Vargas had a bit of an issue on the way out of the chicane, gets absolutely swallowed up. The two Fishy cars go through, Ryan Palmer goes through, and in the background, Damon Fisher now coming around the outside. We call him an honorary Fishy car. I don't know if he'd appreciate that, but two Fishy Motorsports, one Fisher and one Ryan Palmer. Damon Fisher can't quite close the deal for the moment. He's back on the inside here. They've got to be careful not to make contact. Vargas going to go the long way around the outside and now finds himself stranded because the battle has moved on without him. Jamie McKnight's held onto his spot, but Ladder and Palmer now dangerously close.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that kerfuffle all started, Jared, because obviously Palmer lost a position in it. There's no doubt that in this back half of the track that he's faster than Ladder. I'm really interested to see if there's any team games that do come into it. So we look back here to that replay and look at this in that back half of the track. Like I said, Palmer just... there we go. A small touch between McKnight and...
Vigard, they're just struggling to get traction on the way out again. And then Ladder just says thank you very much around the outside. Palmer manages to keep his nose clean somehow, and that's how we ended up there.
Yeah, look, and look, there we go. So Palmer is definitely faster than Ken Ladder in the second half. I think that Ken Ladder's faster in the first half of the lap, but maybe not enough to get back in front of Ryan. The interesting thing here, I really did think, I was just about to say before we went to that replay, Jared, that I was interested to see whether Jamie McKnight would just step out of the way and let Ladder through and then really try and hold Palmer up, because Palmer and Ladder have moved forward together all through this race. And I think that it's impressive the way that they've carved through together, but would not have been surprised to see a little bit of team games get played and to try and really hold Palmer up a bit and let Ken Ladder get off down the road.
Let's jump on board with Luke Allman. Always good to get a bit of a view from his perspective on the way around these tracks. And you can see him working hard in the cockpit there. 215k an hour. It doesn't look like it from outside, but these cars are moving very, very quickly, even through these slow corners, barely dipping below 100k an hour as they make their way back through and around, up and over that curve, 140k an hour on the exit. And just watch for the little corrections all the way down here. It's not as straightforward as it might look. Hard left here, that's going to burn up some more of that tyre as we make our way, starting to get down through Goodwood here. Hard right, just to get the car turning in as best he can and trying to get it to move is the tough part here, isn't it, Josh? It's a really, really tricky track.
Yeah, just huge. One thing that I really noticed here, look at that understeer. Like, so much lock being
You shouldn't ordinarily be putting
these.
that much in, right? Like, that's huge.
No, absolutely not. And that's just trying to force the car to do something. The trick is to use just enough lock to make the car respond, and not so much lock that you overheat the tyres. And of course, with things like that last chicane, the other key to getting around this track as fast as possible is to slow down as little as possible. So it's absolutely about, as we move forward there, like I said, Palmer is fast in that back half of the circuit, and he got a really good run on Jamie McKnight there, and just had the door absolutely slammed on him. Credit to Ken Ladder, some fantastic driving to not just absolutely clatter into the back of Ryan there and push him off. These guys are battling hard. They are going to get out of the car and be sweating. There's just no doubt about it. They are pushing really, really hard, and bit of a battle pack forming up for 6th, 7th and 8th, but otherwise these couple of guys, particularly in Palmer and Ladder, have put on an absolute clinic tonight to show you just how good the racing can be.
And look, full credit to a few of these drivers up front who've managed to make their way through and survive a bit of that early carnage. Wayne Walker and Matt Vanderkraan remain unchanged at the front of the field here, and they've been leading from the very start as James Hardy picks up a drive-through penalty for his contact with his teammate Troy Sipple earlier on. That's a bit of an embarrassing one, and probably a beer owed there at the end of this But Jim Caperonis up a couple of spots, Mark Poynton up 3, Luke Allman up 4, as is Mick Clifton. Joel Lusterval's up 6, Jamie Dyke is up 10 positions from the start. And then, as you said before, the moves for McKnight, Palmer and Ladder, 11, 18 and 16 spots up respectively. Not to forget Phil Manuel, who is just off the back of that. You can see this group coming through at the moment. Phil Manuel is up 17 positions into P16, so plenty of movers and shakers throughout the field here tonight. Jay McKnight has lost the place to Ryan Palmer. He's managed to find his way through here. If he can hold this, McKnight struggles to get it back online, and Ken Ladder's going to go through as well. Now an opportunity for Rick Vigo, who finds himself on the inside. They're going to be side by side on the run to this left-hander. Vigo desperately needs to get in front. McKnight pulls in very early. Vigo finds himself way off wide, dips the tyres into the grass, and that'll send him off the back of this pack as he tries to get it back online. Phil Manuel now right up in there, as is Dean Logsdale, and the makeup of this mid-pack continues to change every lap. Only a few left here in race 1. I don't know just quite what's left in this one, but still plenty of movement as we see in the background. A bit of a moment for Phil Manuel. Let's Rick Vigo back through, and look out, here comes Damon Fisher up the inside.
It's really come alive, Jared. I'm surprised by by how good the racing is, but it's fantastic to see, and I think the credit where it's due. These guys have put on some really nice displays of good quality driving tonight. Far too often in the sim world we see I guess some silly stuff, and small crashes become large crashes, etc. These guys have done a fantastic job. Lots of stuff's been avoided, but the passing's been good fun. They've battled. There hasn't been much going on in the way of pushing or shoving. It's just been swap backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, and it's so good to see. And these two in particular have just put on an absolute clinic, a genuine ding-dong battle, and it's so good to see. We know how fast Ken Ladder is. Ryan Palmer, obviously new to ASR this season, and has a bit of a history. I would suggest, Jared, as a little bit fast and loose, should I say. He's never lacked speed, but he has maybe sometimes lacked consistency. And to give the guy credit, I think I spoke about it last week, or a couple of weeks ago when I last commented, he's doing a fantastic job. And this race proves it again. Ken Ladder has the run, but can he get past? He's had to go to the outside. There's nowhere there.
Ladder's very sideways.
Squeezes him right up on the edge of the track, and a fantastic save there by Ladder. I'm not sure whether that'll get called in and looked at. Ryan squeezed him absolutely as far as he possibly can, and maybe even from that one view that we had, might have even overstepped the mark. But these guys are battling hard, and once again, back to my point, what fantastic displays of driving that we're seeing. That was an absolutely phenomenal show of car control by Ladder.
As we take another look here, and possibly a little further back than we would have liked to go, I'm sorry folks, but you can see Ladder just closing in behind Palmer. Gets a great drive out of the corner, and then really goes for the outside here, which is a bold move, and then gets a little loose. So those rear tyres starting to struggle a bit, and yeah, just a very, very tough one. That actually looks like it's gone back a lot further than where that contact was. So we'll have to try and track that down, because that was a very, very big moment as we see the stranded. Who is that? Is that Darren Walden? Looks like he's struggling there. Ken Ladder trying desperately to reel Ryan Palmer in as we get closer to the closing stages of this race. Now this 3 is the one to watch. The battle for 6. Luke Allman under huge pressure from Mustaval and Jamie Dyke as we get towards what will be the final lap next time around. Allman looking to lock away 6th place if he can. Wayne Walker out in front, you'd have to think, has this pretty well sewn up. Matt Vanderkraan in 2nd, looking pretty comfortable, and Jim Caperonis, absolute daylight behind him, 10 seconds as well to Vanderkraan there. So there's a huge amount of space in there, but not here, where we're going to look at almost go 3 wide as we come to the chicane. Luke Allman probably sweating as he watches both the mirrors, but in the background, Oosterwal and Dyke are going to try and go through side by side. Dyke squeezes and forces Oosterwal to back on out of that one, and that is how you get it past done in a V8 supercar.
Sometimes you've just got to muscle your way through. There's no other way to put it, because sometimes there's no nice way to go about it, Jared.
I'm about to see almost the same. Logsdale backs well out of that. I actually expect him to keep pushing through there, whether there was a bit of a redress from earlier or something else. As we see, Ryan Palmer's gone into the wall. He's had a big moment. Looks like he's held it together right, but he's going to lose some spots here as he tries desperately to get it moving again. Jamie Dyke goes through. Logsdale dives up the inside as well. Vigard looking for an opportunity as well. Palmer finds himself back on the inside. He's got an opportunity to hold on to this position. Logsdale gets forced off the inside of the track there, although still within track limits. I'll tell you that much from my testing. A little bit of contact. Palmer manages to keep it going. Logsdale gets pushed all the way to the outside of the track, and now Rick Vigo will go through in the background as well. And Wayne Walker, would you believe, has already crossed the line to take the win. Matt Vanderkraan coming home in second. Jim Caparonis, a distant 10.5 seconds back to third place. We've still got battles going on, though here Jamie Dyke is going to come home just ahead. He's up 12 spots, comes home ahead of Luke Orman in 6th place, 7th for Orman and 8th for Joel Osterwal. And then this pack is the last one who's really got a shot to make their mark on the standings for race number 1. Ryan Palmer looks pretty settled, but behind him, Rick Vigard's got to keep an eye on the mirrors because Logsdale and Fisher are right there. Thankfully, everyone deciding to play it safe at this point. They don't want to give up any more track position before race number 2. A big slide there from Damien Fisher as he tries to get the power down, and a few more of those finishing positions decided. That was probably a little bit more of a frenetic finish than a lot of these guys were aiming for originally, as Brad Hayes comes across the line. Simon Farrington and Todd Martin behind him will be the last to cross here in race number 1.
Yeah, a shame that battle between Ladder and Palmer didn't go all the way to the end. I'm not sure whether there was a bit of contact there or Palmer had a spin on his own, but he consolidated that mid-pack result, and some fantastic results. Fast guys out the front who just left the field for dead. Walker, Vanderkraan, Caparonis pointing the top 4. That's becoming a little bit common, should I say, Jared. But they led home Mick Clifton, Jamie Dyke, Luke Allman, and Osterwal. And a really fantastic couple of results. We pretty quickly, though, head into the second race reverse grid, Jared. Yeah, no rest to the wicked with these 3 race evenings. The lineup here look a little out of order because, of course, Brad Grant and Tim Nicol won't be taking to the front row. Ashley Hall and David Coleman will lead us off here ahead of Alex Keatis and Darren Walden. Then David Logsdale and Andrew Johnston ahead of Troy Sipple and Matthew Fu. Further back in the pack, Craig Rose and Todd Martin line up ahead of Simon Farrington and Brad Hayes. Then Hardy and Rushworth ahead of Cudby and Manuel. Fisher and Dean Logsdale behind them. Rick Vigar and Ryan Palmer alongside each other, as are Jamie McKnight and Ken Ladder from Fishy Motorsports. Stephen Varga and Jason Bentz, the 2 teammates alongside each other behind them. Joel Osterwal and Luke Orman then ahead of Jamie Dyke and Mick Clifton. Towards the back of the pack, Mark Poynton and Jim Caparonis, with Matt Vanderkraan and Wayne Walker looking to race all the way from the back of this field. This will be a very, very interesting start to race number 2. You've probably got about, I reckon, 30 seconds or so, folks, if you do want to go and grab yourself a quick refresh of the drink. I reckon we're in store for another very interesting one. We see it all the time, really, don't we, Josh, where you have these 3 race nights, people jump so quickly back into race number 2 that it's very easy to forget that you're actually back on cold tyres. Absolutely, and hopefully a lot of the guys, get off to a really nice start. The big thing here that we don't often see is entire reverse grid. So definitely the potential for a bit of chaos, but going to be really exciting to see some guys up the front that we just don't normally get to see up the front, and gives them a great opportunity to just hold on for grim death and get a fantastic starting opportunity for race 3.
As we go down to the grid, we're just about ready to get underway here. There'll be a notable absence at the front of the pack here with the 2 safety cars excluded. Unfortunately, no way for us to run a complete reverse grid without doing that. So drivers starting a little bit further back than ordinarily. David Coleman in a great position here for race number 2 as the lights come up. We hear the revs rise, these drivers loading it up, and they drop the clutch. David Coleman, a huge start, not so good for Darren Walden there, who looks set to drop back through the field if he's not careful. And we get racing once again here at Thruxton for race number 2. Another 20 laps, and we've got a big slide in the background. Looks like one of the Team AJR cars has been caught up in that. I'm not quite sure who it is. We're taking a look through the field here. Might have actually saved it, would you believe? Just enough so it didn't actually turn up. But there you go. Already we've got Walden sideways, and that's an awkward part of the track. We're going to have chaos here. Simon Farrington spears off to the outside of the track there. And we're already going to see a huge amount of movement out in front. All of the drivers just running away. But have a look in the background. Oh, we've got an Angry Birds car that's slid back onto the track, and everyone did an amazing job to avoid that. Somehow we've only ended up with Matthew Fu with the meatball flag out of all of that. But what a mix-up that's been, and not surprised at all that it's come through that complex of corners early here on lap 1.
Look, it's kind of expected, Jeff, with these reverse grid races. You know, lots of people out of position. One thing that I will say, I was keeping an eye on my timing screen, just keeping a bit of a close eye on my team. As you see, someone else there go sailing off. No, not Wayne Walker. Oosterwald, maybe by the look of it, plummeting down the list. But I was just keeping an eye on my teammate Ryan Palmer, and off the start, Jared. By the time that he got to turn 3, he was up 8 positions. Would you believe? And then got involved in that bit of backwards and forwards, ding dong battle. And suddenly found himself all the way back to 28th, and now he's in the pit. So he picked up damage in that grand scheme of thing. But really, what that does is that just shows you the way that carnage unfolded. My timing screen absolutely lit up. There was people going everywhere, and really, I think the point to make: Wayne Walker, one lap in, he is up 19 spots into 15th. The cream rises to the top. Might I suggest that in this circumstance, maybe the cream gets a little bit of luck on some first lap shenanigans as well.
Yeah, it does look like we're actually about to go under safety car. Although I'm waiting for confirmation from race control here. I think the safety car has just pulled out onto track, and indeed there it is. So Brad Grant, the safety car, will be out on track somewhere just up ahead of these couple of drivers, Alex Kiedis and David Coleman, at the head of the pack. It's going to be an awkward little restart here as they try to get everything figured out. But there's the safety car now. Now that's interesting. I think, Alex Kiedis is going to have to back it off and let the safety car catch up and get back in front here. Almost missed it on the way through. Didn't see the Mustang GT4 there in the Soligard Saint-Gobain colours. Just a bit of traffic getting in the way, and so easy to see that car flash past you and realise, oh, hang on, I'm meant to be behind that one. So glad that he's got it sorted so quickly. What a start the race to.
Yeah, look, I won't say that I'm all that surprised. Unfortunately, full field reverse grids, they sound so much fun. You're doing the planning of a league, and you're like, hey, let's reverse the whole grid, and we'll give some people an opportunity to be up front and win a race who maybe otherwise wouldn't, and it sounds great. And then you get half a lap in, Jared, and you realise that there's reasons that we don't do it all that often.
And have a look at this carnage. We're focused on Matthew Fu, who got caught up in the middle of it, but just cars off everywhere. Ken Ladder off to the side there. Ryan Palmer going straight into the side of a Team AJA car. It just, what a mess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the only way to put it is what a mess. Look, Jared, if I can though, while we are under safety car, just a big shout out. They stay quiet. We don't see them in the comments very often, but we do happen to have the privilege of having ADHD's number 1 and number 2's supporters both on the line tonight. So hello to Hayley and Beck. They're having a bit of fun at home. I'm sure they'll be ever so disappointed to see Ryan Palmer so far down the back tonight. But if he gets his butt into gear and moves forward, he'll have a couple of lovely young ladies who are mighty happy to see him moving forward. But before then, lap 3, Jared, we've still got 17 laps to go. I'm not sure whether we've cleared up whatever the mess was. hopefully only one more lap under safety car, because one thing that we forget about these cars, these tracks, Jared, they're so fast that we actually forget how long they are. So these safety cars, they take forever.
Yeah, it's an almost 4 kilometre lap here. You know, good 3.5, 3.6, something like that. It's it is a long way around. It just doesn't seem that way when you're constantly over 200k an hour through pretty much every part of this track. So plenty of time each lap, which means at least you don't spend too many laps under safety car when it is a race that's limited by laps as opposed to a time-based race. I mean, either case kind of sucks, but you're not losing a lot of racing time being behind a safety car here, where it is lap limited, and it does give plenty of time for them to just clear up all of the mess. I think from what I'm seeing, it looks as though Matthew Fu was probably the bulk of the reason for that one, and he must have suffered just some nasty damage in amongst all of that mess early on, as you saw him pull off to the side of the road. And as it stands at the moment, it looks like Ken Ladder's come in and is now on his way out of the pits. We've had a few drivers come into the pits that time around. Ryan Palmer's been in, Simon Farrington, Damon Fisher, Darren Walden, Brad Hayes, all coming through the pits there, and probably just taking advantage of some fresh tyres and a bit of a fast repair as well. Although I don't know that fresh tyres are really necessary this early in the race, so maybe just the repairs. I'm not sure. It's a little bit of an odd one. You know, Ryan Palmer only in there for 6 3/4 seconds. I'd put that down to fast repair and a bit of a you know, self check on you know, how he got into that mess in the first place. Have a look at the bevy of quantum cars up the front here, though. We've got David Kolmanowski out in front. Then you've got Ashley Hall, skip Andrew Johnston there. You've got Troy Sipple, Todd Martin, Craig Rose right behind as well. So the yellow and blue are very strongly represented at the front of the pack at the moment. This is going to be a very, very odd little restart, I suspect.
Now, Jared, it looks cool, but as a member of a team who are known to have intra-team shenanigans, shall we say, it scares the daylights out of me to see 4 cars all painted the same all together. But we are going racing again. Dave Coleman holding them up for a little while. We see the pack absolutely fan out in the background, but we are back up to speed. Dave Coleman is, you know, he's probably got a good opportunity here, Jared. We know that Dave's not slow, and he's out and about. Also think about guys like Ryan Palmer who had damage and snagged a really well-timed safety car. Got that repair done, bunched the field back up. Now they've got the opportunity to move forward again.
We see the cars all getting very bunched up through this complex. It's always going to be where the potential drama is here, and plenty going on right throughout the field as we try to keep track of where everybody is. Jamie Dyke just hanging those inside wheels off into the grass just to keep himself in tight on that corner. It's such a difficult restart when you've got all of these fast drivers coming through the pack from behind, and have a look at them just flooding through at the moment. It looks like these cars are well spread out, and that's really more indicative of this track than anything else, because you have to look at that timing tower and there is nothing between any of these cars at the moment.
No, when they're 4 wide, they tend to take up a fair bit of the timing tower without looking like they're very far apart. Too wide through the chicane is never a recipe for a huge amount of success, Jared. And sure enough, we flipped the camera back there and there's cars going everywhere. So a couple of free spots there for Palmer, and probably a couple of frustrated people in Vanderkraan and I think it was Clifton that was involved in that little battle, and we'll see how Matt Vanderkraan goes moving forward, because I had missed the fact that he was so far down. But there's another fast guy towards the back of the pack that we'd expect to move forward during this race, Jared.
Yeah, and look, 6 laps in, still plenty to go. A bit of debate in the comments here as to who is the number 1 and who is the number 2 ADHD supporter. Look, I have my ideas around who the number 2 driver is in ADHD, but I'll keep that to myself, just for the moment at least. Craig Rose finds himself just moving out of the way of Wayne Walker as Walker charges through, now up 23 positions from where he started. Jason Bent's up in 7th as well, also on the move, as Rushworth goes up the inside of Johnston into the braking zone for the chicane. David Coleman picks up a slowdown through that chicane, so he's going to have to try and burn that off out in front. Ashley Hall is just trying desperately at the moment to stay ahead of Logsdale. I don't know that he's going to manage it, although he does seem to be able to hold the inside for now. Logsdale goes around the outside, finds himself on the inside for this right-hander, and that will be the move done, as Hall finds himself well off the inside of the track there, and more Quantum cars streaming on through. There's Wayne Walker, all of a sudden up into 10th place, and we're only on to lap 7.
Yeah, 24 positions up in what is realistically 3.5 laps of racing, Jack, because we had that safety car. It's massively impressive. And Jason Bent's up 20 in 6th place. And oh dearie me, every single time you change the camera, Jared, there appears to be something going on. Unfortunately, we see another Angry Birds car off the track and touring the grass, and sure enough, here we have McKnight and Palmer back in the same spot of the track. So these guys have picked up where they left off in race number 1. And to be fair, that is now Palmer leading a pretty angry pack. Oh no, we've seen there's that Varga.
Rick Varga has lost that front left completely.
Look at that front left.
Big contact with the wall there.
Huge amount of damage.
I don't think I've ever seen it just completely detached there, and it looks as though iRacing side
even
actually...
more impressive, I've never seen it put it itself back on.
Well, look, you know, they've got some pretty cool safety features built into these cars these days, and I dare say that's a little bit safer pulled back into line there than it was previously. But Varga will have to come in and get that repaired. Again, just look at the mess here through this section. Caperonis and Palmer are going to try and do it side by side. I think that's probably the least wise of the two options there. But this group, as we've got towards the back here, so many quick names in here, and they're all fighting not with each other, but just to try and get back up towards the front of this pack. David Coleman right now in the absolute box seat at the moment. He is out in front. You can see Wayne Walker just slowly picking off positions. He's on his way up there as well. He's about to get to Jason Bent's just a couple of seconds up the road, but for now he's up 27 spots. He's into 7th. Ashley Hall's going to try and stick with him here as they come towards the club chicane again, but Wayne Walker just, as always, so fast. We've got big contact there. That's Todd Martin and Phil Manuel into the wall. Whether they've tried to go side by side through that chicane, I reckon that's probably what's happened. We'll go back and we'll take a bit of a look at just how they ended up there. And sure enough, it's a side-by-side excursion, bit of contact there, and they both go around. Look, very nicely synchronised, I'll give them that much, and thankfully not a great deal of damage.
Yeah, and a couple of good-looking flick spins too, might I add. The grass probably helps, but nice high-powered rear-wheel drive supercars, they'll do that. But yeah, the battles continue, Jared, and you know, considering that at the start of the night we ummed and ahed about just how good the racing would be, I think that I know the answer.
Yeah, well, have a look at this pack further back. This is the big one at the moment, behind really behind Jay McKnight again, and he seems to be the common theme at the head of these packs at the moment. Whether that's by design or just through sheer bad luck for McKnight, he's got Clifton, Varga, Rose, Fisher, Hayes all right there battling it out behind him, and there is not a lot of room at all for any of these drivers to make an error because they're so tightly packed. The two Team AJR cars in behind the two Quantum cars as they come down towards the chicane, and of course McKnight now under pressure. He's got a bit of damage that he's carrying, so he's not quite as quick as he'd like to be. Wayne Walker sets the fastest lap, incidentally, a 1:13.41, so continuing his charge. But have a look at how tightly packed this group is. There's a little bit of forward and backward in who's involved, but the main thing to take away here is that nobody is escaping it. Really, it's actually, if anything else, starting to come down a little bit. The gap between sort of Joel Osterwald and Andrew Johnston to this group here, headed up by Mick Clifton, who's now starting to just extend away from the group here. But it's just all over the shop here in this mid pack.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is a part of reverse grid racing, Jared. When you've got a big number of people, is in theory every car needs to entirely swap positions. So even if you're at the front, even if you're in the middle, you somehow have to pass the 15 cars in front of you and let the 15 cars behind, all sort of move around. So that mid-pack battle becomes absolutely enormous. But I really just want to call our attention, Jared, reverse grid races also produce some phenomenal stats. And so, as we see there,
Contact with Kiedis and Coleman, they go around. So Alex Kiedis gets moving again. David Coleman is just going to have to sit and wait for an opportunity to get rolling again. He wants to get moving pretty quickly because he knows that the points are starting to slip away. And all of that, Wayne Walker has slipped through, and now he's up into second place as we see Rushworth and Kiedis going side by side through this fast left-hand, right-hand section. And it looks as though Kiedis is going to just drop in behind for the moment. David Coleman, from sitting out in front quite comfortably, finds himself in the middle of a bevy of cars here. Jamie Dyke out in front, so at least he's got a teammate there with him. But Mark Poynton in amongst it, Ashley Hall, Troy Sipple, Luke Allman right on his tail. Thankfully not a lot of damage there, but look at the send from Ashley Hall. And David Coleman just trying to not get taken out there almost, as Hall absolutely belted on through. Coleman's going to put himself back on the inside and trust his braking on the way into the chicane, and he'll pick that spot back up. But had a brief moment there, I suspect, where he was in fear for the condition of that car.
Yeah, and to be fair to Tafe Coleman, if that bloke didn't have bad luck this year, he wouldn't have any. And unfortunately, this is another one of those scenarios where out the front, cruising around, had a bad race one. It's a perfect opportunity in a reverse grid race too, and unfortunately gets turned around. But back to that point that I was just going to make, Jared. If we have a look at this leaderboard, I'm just going to read out some numbers. Dean Logsdale up 19, Wayne Walker up 32, Jason Bentz up 23, Rushworth's up 12, Dyke's up 23, Poynton's up 24. Allman's up 17. I'm going to give a shout out to Palmer. Palmer's up 10, but had to go to 30th to get to claw his way back to 12th. Vanderkran's up 20. Cafaronis up 18. The guys that, particularly the top four, I really want to give a shout out to, Jared. That yes, they're fast guys, and we probably did expect them to come a long way back through the front, but when you sit down and actually think about what this means, they've passed, in Wayne Walker's instance, he's passed 32, well, let's call it 29 cars.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's take him back a peg here. Wayne Walker's only up 30 if you exclude the two safety cars, which I think we really should, to be entirely fair, but up 30 is really no less impressive, is it?
It's still 30 positions, Jared, that he had to manage. He had to make the moves. He had to stay out of trouble. He had to avoid the spinning cars. He's, regardless of being fast, he has also, and to be fair, all the guys at the front have put on a really, really cool display of good quality driving as well as being fast.
Yeah, and the challenge, of course, they had to get it done, didn't they? Because if they weren't going to push through to the front of this pack in race 2, there's no reverse grid in race 3, so they would have been starting from wherever they finished mid-pack. So not only missing out on points here in race 2, but also setting up a real battle for themselves for race 3. So these top championship contenders, they needed to make the move through the pack to get back up front and make sure their championship hopes stay alive. As we see a bit of a swapperoo just behind this group. Damon Fisher, Jay McKnight, Stephen Vargas still right in the heat of battle here. We're only on, would you believe, lap 14 of 20, as you see a big moment for Damon Fisher. Gets very, very loose trying to get the power down, and looks as though he's actually dropped right off the back there as Brad Hayes gets alongside. And also looks like, is that... no, surely not. Is that a lapped car in Matthew Fu there? I think just in the middle of this?
Yeah,
it certainly is. P29, so that's Matthew Fu, the Apex Esports League. I'm not quite sure how he's ended up in the middle of all of that, but there it is. And look at this, a pit lane penalty for car number 1, Wayne Walker. they've taken a bit of time to have an opportunity to look at that one. But Wayne Walker's going to suffer a drive-through here, so for all of his effort, he is going to drop back a little way, and he goes in to complete that now. I mean, he's still going to be towards the front of the field, and he's still got 5 laps left to play with, as Ashley Hall gives up the position to Ryan Palmer coming through into P10. Matt Vanderkraan right on the tail as well, and look at him go up the inside of Hall. He's going to set up beautifully for this first right-hander, and you'd have to think that he's going to get it done, and indeed he does on the way through. Ashley Hall just struggling to stay with the pace at the moment.
Yeah, and I can't believe how quickly Wayne Walker's back out on track in 6th. A really short pit lane here, which is probably a little bit lucky for Wayne Walker. But yeah, you're right. Ashley Hall, let's call it out as it probably should be. He's doing a fantastic job, Jared. Ashley's not one of our faster guys, but what he has done really, really well in this race so far is he has consolidated that position. So we haven't had a chance to look at him much, Jared. He's probably chosen very sensibly who to race and who to let part. And the best drivers very much understand that battling with someone lap after lap after lap will actually cost you more in the long run, because you lose so much time to the cars in front. So, Ashley Hall's only down to 12th, and I think that it's a pretty bloody good job at the moment, to be honest, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Vargs gets through, almost contact there with Jay McKnight, who wants to press on. He likes his line for the exit of that chicane, but Vargs gets out in front. And in the background, a big slide there from Brad Hayes, who taps the wall. He's going to just try and get rolling here without too much more damage, and thankfully gets away with it and gets running again. Probably for the best that they're running 3 20-lap sprints here. You said it's a short pit lane. I can tell you a big part of that is the fact that I believe there's only about 13 or 14 pit bays here. If there was indeed a need for pit stops, can you imagine how many of these drivers would have to be coming in on top of each other? Very, very good idea to run these sprint races here tonight, I suspect.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're actually exactly right that there's 13 is the number, and that means that because of the way that iRacing works, thankfully we're able to run these big grids at tracks that don't have the facilities. But the way that it works for those at home who may not realise is iRacing just keeps on stacking cars in the pit boxes, and so you can all come into pit at the same time. And the cars ghost just in their pit boxes, so you're actually able to pull in. But you might be the second car in your pit bay at the same time, and you have to be able to spot where your little pit man's standing to know where to pull your car up at and all that sort of stuff. And it would have been an unmitigated disaster, in my opinion, Jared. I think that they've done the right thing here and ran a no pit stop sprint race style of night, and it's produced fantastic racing, so the quality of racing hasn't suffered, and we haven't seen any silly stuff happen in the pit lane.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a nice departure from what we ordinarily see. Ian Ward joins us in the chat. G'day, mate. Welcome along. Hope you're enjoying the racing this evening. It's certainly something a little bit different here at Thruxton tonight. It's a tough track. And the 3 sprint laps are very, very well suited. This is, we get a great view back from David Coleman's cars. Ryan Palmer makes the move and just pushes through past Luke Allman, but he's going to have to get the foot down. Coleman pulls away massively on the exit from the chicane. Palmer's under all sorts of pressure now in the background as we see him just trying to get that car moving. He's managed to just keep that door closed, and Allman's got no choice but to just drop in behind and continue with him at the moment. Further back in the field, a couple of the Quantum boys going at it here. Troy Sipple under attack almost from his teammate Todd Martin, the 2 Quantum racing cars, just getting into it on their way out here on lap 18. And still a fair bit going on. It looks as though Brad Hayes has been given a bit of a drive-through there by the look of things. Although whether that's an iRacing imposed or a race control imposed, I'm not entirely sure. I'm sorry. Craig Rose has got to slow down. He's still trying to clear. Plenty of opportunity going on. This battle at the moment one of the very close ones, Palmer, Orman and Vanderkram, but not the only one by any stretch, because Wayne Walker just up ahead continues to try and climb his way back up through the field, and a big slide on the way out of the chicane, as does Jamie Dyke behind. You can see how much these left-hand tyres are suffering as they get loaded up out of that chicane. They try and get the power down, the rear end just stepping out on these Gen 3 supercars, and not at all surprised to see it. And despite all of that though, Wayne Walker still finding the pace. He's right on Alex Kiedis's rear bar here, and no doubt will be looking for a bit of extra exit pace if he can find it to get the pass done through this long, fast section ahead.
No, he's putting a lot of pressure on Kiedis, and Kiedis doing an absolutely fantastic job to stay up the front. Wayne Walker there closes the gap right up. I don't think that you would have been able to fit credit card in between those two cars at one point there, Jared. Kiedis is, after a poor result in race one, Kiedis actually started fifth in this race, so he finished right at the very back of the field in the last race, and Kiedis has actually moved forward a spot in a reverse grid race, which when you start at the front is very difficult to do. But these guys also absolutely frenetic at the moment. The back end of the top 10, great place to be, and Palmer will be hoping for a far better run through the chicane this lap, which it looks like he's been able to do. So that last lap that we saw, Jared, he really compromised his run through the chicane to make sure that he got that pass done on Allman, which kind of gave up the opportunity to race with Coleman. But nonetheless, he got it done, and we now see three cars battling to get into the chicane at the same time in Johnson, Varga and Fisher, really just fighting their way through to make sure that they can fit through that chicane. On the last lap though, Jared, when these guys will be doing everything that they can to make sure that they get the run home and manage to get it done, we change our attention to Dean Logsdale. He's having a fantastic series, Jared, and what a great race this is for him. Up 19 positions as we see him for the very final time come through the chicane and greet the checkered flag. A 6-second gap through to Jason Bentz, Jared.
Yeah, it's quite a gap, and in the end, Jason Bentz manages to hold off Andrew Rushworth. Wayne Walker comes through in 5th place. Matt Vanderkran out of the exit, looking to pick up one final spot if he can get there, and it looks as though Luke Orman, the poor bloke, picked up a slowdown through the chicane there, had to back right off, but he's done a brilliant job to clear it before actually crossing the line, and so he will retain P11. That could have cost him, I think it's usually about 20 or 30 seconds if you do find yourself crossing the line with a slowdown. It's not a small amount of time that it will cost you. So we see Jay McKnight and James Hardy come to the line now as well as they finish off their final lap, probably a little bit further back through the field than they were hoping to be. Shane Cudby, my apologies, crosses the line in the background. Brad Hayes will be one of the last couple of drivers now to make their way across the line. A big slide, and why not finish it in a bit of style? If you can't be up the front, you may as well at least get some style points under your belt as he comes across the line. And Rick Vigar, the last driver out on track after a massive pit stop to get that damage repaired. He'll still get across there in P29. He's still carrying, by the look of things, a bit of that damage, but just babies it across the line. And that wraps up race number 2 in what was a very, very eventful set of circumstances right throughout that. The drivers will have a bit of time between races now to just refresh themselves, have a bit of a stretch, and get ready to go one more time here at Thruxton tonight. But race 2, won by Dean Logsdale in the end by quite some distance ahead of Jason Bentz and Andrew Rushworth, and Kiedis and Walker behind him. Jamie Dyke and Mark Poynton with David Coleman and Ryan Palmer behind them. Matt Vanderkran rounds out the top 10. The really interesting one for me there, Josh, is going to be that Dean Logsdale has just managed to secure about a 17-point bite into Wayne Walker's championship lead, and that is not a bad thing at all for the 9.5 SimSport entry.
No, it's not. However, Dean finished a number of spots back, so I don't know exactly where he finished, but I think he finished in 7th. something like that, 7th or 8th in the first race. So, Dean probably gave up a couple of points in the first race, but then he's taken a number back there. It's good for Dean, right? He's second in the championship. He needs to win races. That's how he's going to win the championship. He didn't get it done in race 1, but that's exactly what he's done there in race 2. And he can't ask for anything more than that for that race. Damn good race by a number of people, Jared. We now have the opportunity just to take a small breath. The guys will be having a 5-minute break, check over the cars, make sure they're good to go. But importantly, it gives all of us, including the drivers, the opportunity just to take a breath, reset, and get ready for one last sprint race.
Yeah, still another 20 laps lie ahead. We're going to take a very quick break here as well. Don't go anywhere unless, of course, you need a drink refill yourself. We'll be right back after this quick message.
Providing the best for your family means a healthy, secure, and comfortable environment. But the daily risks your family faces are often invisible. Solar Guard performance films protect what matters most to you. While you're concentrating on the task at hand, we're protecting your family from uncomfortable solar heat, harmful UV light, and glare. Our window films and protective coatings are designed with decades of technical expertise and provide a vision towards the future. Solar Guard provides added protection to the places where they're needed most, creating invisible barriers for increased security. The people of Solar Guard design carbon-negative solutions that can help reduce energy costs and improve comfort. Allow us to tackle the invisible challenges so you can focus on the important things in life. What matters most to you? We're on it. Saint-Gobain, Solar Guard.
Welcome back, folks. Hope you've had the opportunity to just get yourself a bit of a stretch of the legs. I know I certainly try to do that where we can as well, Josh, because being on the edge of your seat, it does take it out of you, doesn't it?
It's painful after a while, Jared. There was nowhere else to be in either of those races, but particularly that race too. I love sprint racing, Jared. The other league that I'm part of, we've adopted sprint racing more and more. It's so much fun. It's just that little bit more, frantic. I got a message from Ryan Palmer in that break. He is a sweaty mess. He
more so
is
than usual,
absolutely. Well, actually, no, that's a very good point, Jared. That bloke is a sweaty mess. He's yes, more than usual, but he's said much the same thing. Like how good is sprint racing? How good is this frantic pace? Super frenetic energy style racing, and a number of people, not the least of which is Ryan, not a huge fan of the layout of this track, but it's proving that it doesn't need to be the most interesting layout to produce good quality racing.
Absolutely right. We're into the final of these 3 sprint races in just a moment. The track temperature dropping off significantly with the cooler air temp down to 21 degrees, which I think all of the drivers, but especially their tyres, will be very, very happy to see. It's not going to do a huge amount to lower the tyre wear, but hopefully does a little bit of something. I can tell you from the conversation I had with one Jamie Dyke earlier this week, maybe late last week, I've lost track of time here, Josh, but he was saying that in the practice laps he was doing late last week, he was chewing through about 5% tyre wear in the matter of 2 hot laps following an out lap. If that doesn't give you an idea of just how ridiculous the load is on the tyres here, I don't know what else will.
No, look, that doesn't surprise me, but these supercar tyres they're really interesting in the way that they wear. They wear really quick at first. You lose tenths of a second over the first 2 laps, and then they settle into this nice rhythm. So it doesn't surprise me that Jamie lost a lot really quickly on at the start of his stint. The other thing that I'll leave you on before you introduce the grid is time is an illusion, Jared.
It's all a structured concept that we create for ourselves or something. I don't know. I'm trying to not go down the Matrix rabbit hole here. But anyhow, let's take a look at the grid for race number 3. Dean Logsdale and Jason Bentz will have the best possible starting position for this final sprint race. 20 laps lie ahead of them off the front row. Andrew Rushworth and Alex Kiedis behind them. Then Wayne Walker and Jamie Dyke on row 3. Mark Poynton and David Coleman on row 4. Ryan Palmer and Matt Vanderkraan rounding out your top 10 for this final race. Luke Orman and Jim Caperonis just outside of that group, ahead of Ashley Hall and Joel Lusterval. Then Mick Clifton and Troy Sipple line up alongside each other with Todd Martin and Damon Fisher behind them. Stephen Varga and Andrew Johnston rounding out the top 20. Jamie McKnight and James Hardy alongside each other on row number 11. Then Shane Cudby and Brad Hayes, followed by Darren Walden and David Logsdale. Matthew Fu and Craig Rose in 27th and 28th respectively, with Rick Varga and Ken Latta just inside the top 30. Phil Manuel and Simon Farrington, the last drivers on the grid on row 16, with Brad Grant and Tim Nicol both hoping that they won't be required again here in race number 3. I don't know, Josh. I feel like we're probably going to see at least one more safety car here tonight. The only question will be, will it be on the opening laps of this final race, or will it perhaps be a little later on?
Oh, I don't know, Jared. We've got to resolve the grid, which is that's a good order. So let's see how the guys go. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. One thing I know about the team here at ASR is they've usually got the ability to pop a safety car up, reasonably frequently. They're pretty good at it.
Well, hopefully there's no need for it. We're waiting on just the last of the drivers to grid. Jamie McKnight back in 21st is the last one. It looks like he'll be starting from the pits here. As we get ready to go racing, Dean Logsdale with the open road in front of him. The lights go out and we are underway, and a great start for Logsdale. Not so much for Jason Bentz as he drops immediately behind Andrew Rushworth. Wayne Walker looking to move up through the field very, very quickly indeed as we get through the first turn. We're 3 wide at multiple parts here. Jamie Dyke pushing hard, you can see there, just a few spots back. Wayne Walker up into 3rd quite significantly forward from where he started. And Jamie Dyke and Alex Kiedis are going side by side through this early complex. I think probably a bit ambitious to be pushing that sort of move so soon on these cold tyres, but it's not going to stop them as they race away to the high-speed section and start to build some temperature in those tyres, particularly the left-hand side of this car. Logsdale, Rushworth and Walker lead us out. Kiedis and Dyke behind them. Then Jason Bentz and Mark Poynton, with David Coleman in 8th and Matt Vanderkraan in 9th. Luke Orman sitting in 10th currently. The worst start off the line here for race number 3. Jason Bentz is down 4 spots, so not the start that he would have been hoping for. But Dean Logsdale had an absolute flyer, and he's quite comfortably out in front for the moment. Keep your eye, though, on that number 1 car, Wayne Walker, as he looks to cement more points in this championship, and Logsdale will need to put in his absolute best effort here, because at worst he'll want to finish right behind Wayne Walker. Really, though, what he's got ahead of him is a good 18 laps or so still to go of full-on defence to hold Wayne Walker behind him.
Yeah, and it's probably a good track, Jared, to be able to do that. To be fair, it produces good racing, but it probably also is one that you can defend that position your car in the right spot. Hit a lot of apexes. We already talked about the fact that there's not a huge amount of braking areas, and so I think that one of the key ways that people are getting past us done tonight is people running wide, not being able to get onto the power early enough because of the the corner exit they're having, etc. So if there's going to be anywhere that you might choose to defend hard, maybe this is a good spot to do it.
Yeah, and look, he's in the ideal spot at the moment, and you're already seeing a bit of a gap starting to be opened up by Dean Logsdale as Wayne Walker's gotten past Andrew Rushworth, but he is managing to hold that gap at the moment to Wayne Walker. 1.3 seconds. It doesn't sound like much, but it can feel like an eternity at a track like Thruxton. At the moment, Wayne Walker still having to contend with a bit of pressure behind him, and no sooner do we look past that than we hit this group here, Andrew Rushworth out in front with Alex Kiedis and Jamie Dyke right behind them. An incident between the two cars, car 100 and 107, that's Kiedis and Jason Benz, has ended with a 5-second penalty for Alex Kiedis, who's just run off the road and just outbraked himself a bit through that corner, manages to keep it out of the fence, but he's going to drop a long way through the field, so he'll be out of that lead group. Now Jason Benz takes up the fight at the front of this, Jamie Dyke right behind him, and these guys sitting in fourth at the moment will want to do everything they can to start to close the gap forward to Andrew Rushworth, who finds himself a little bit in no man's land at the moment, with Dean Logsdale out in front and then a bit of a gap behind. There's not a huge amount in it, but just enough that he's not going to get any advantage from the aero off any of these cars, as little as there may be. Further back in the field, Joel Oosterwal is trying his hardest to get past Ashley Hall, and he'll be looking for a move into the chicane here, no doubt. He starts to close in, but Hall holding quite a bit of speed. Oosterwal backs it off early and doesn't want to get caught up in anything too soon here. Probably for the best, because of course we've already seen the sort of issues that this chicane can give. A big slide in the background for Damon Fisher as he tries to get the power down. And look, it's a hell of a start to race number 3. G'day Sim Racer HQ, welcome on in. This is race 3 of the 20-lap sprint races here at Thruxton tonight. So 16 laps to go before we call it a night and have a look at the championship standings, but still plenty of racing left in it. Mick Clifton just suffering a little bit on the way through turn 1, gives up another spot to Todd Martin, and he's got Vargs and Hardy right on his tail. Shane Cudby coming with them as well. Further up, Ashley Hall continues to battle this Oosterwal. Oosterwal almost getting through there, but Hall regathers and holds on to P12. And then you've got this massive group just up the road. Take a look at this one. We've got Jason Bentz really at the front of it, and then Jamie Dyke and Mike Poynton behind, David Coleman and Matt Vanderkraan getting into it behind them. Luke Orman, Ryan Palmer, Jim Caperonis all in amongst it. Damon Fisher and Ashley Hall now side by side as Oosterwal splits the two of them and gets up the middle, but it looks as though Fisher's going to get up the inside, and so will Ashley Hall here. Oosterwal just making the smart choice, backs out of it, gives himself a bit of room, and really, Josh, it's about staying alive in some of these moves, isn't it?
It is, and that was a really nice move by Ashley Hall. He saw that opportunity and he took it. But now we move forward. The battle for fourth is absolutely raging. This is, you know, the right-hand side of the screen only has 5 cars on it, but if you have a look at the left, there is a lot of cars all in one keen battle pack here, and that really does stretch all the way back to Caperonis in 11th. These guys will be racing hard. There's not a huge amount of love lost here, Jared, I wouldn't say, across all of these different drivers, and they'll all be pushing as hard as they can to move forward. What a fantastic shot this is, looking back at the lime green Fisher Motorsports car of Jamie Dyke. I'm here to tell you Jamie would not be able to see much other than a whole heap of Chevy Camaro rear end, and Jamie does stick it down the inside and see what he can do. He managed to get a really nice overlap. They've gone too wide through the chicane, which is never going to work. And Dyke picks up a slowdown and immediately puts himself in a 3-wide situation. And so Bentz there will not be upset about the run that he's got. Jamie Dyke desperately trying to work out how to bleed this slowdown off without losing any more positions than he absolutely has to. And we see them go 4 wide there as Palmer in the ADHD car just sticks his nose up the inside of Luke Allman. Luke Allman's been spun. Not sure whether there was a touch there from Palmer or whether he was just foot in the throttle a little bit too hard, but that has spread the pack out a little bit, and a shame for Luke Allman to have that moment.
Have a look at this train coming through just behind as well. Oosterwal ahead of Hall and Martin, Mick Clifton on the back of it as well. This is a much tighter packed set of groups than we've seen in the first 2 races. Sure, we've got a few gaps in between them, but nobody giving up the little advantages that they can find here. David Coleman under massive pressure from Mark Poynton now, who looks up the inside. Jamie Dyke's going to be there along with Matt Vanderkraan. They're both looking to go too wide through this chicane. David Coleman's not going to give that up. He's going to force his way up the inside and then around the outside. Mark Poynton lights up the rear tyres on the way out of the chicane, and that's going to be the only invitation that Coleman needs to continue this battle from the outside through turn one. Poynton gets squeezed all the way to that inside racing line, and Coleman has done just enough to get his nose ahead here. A little bit more contact, and he'll send himself up. Mark Poynton, a big slide there. He's going to be lucky to recover that, and Jamie Dyke probably watching that very, very carefully as he came through. That gives Coleman the opportunity to really cement that spot out in front of this group. Mark Poynton somehow has managed to keep that pointing the right way. I've got no idea how he's done it, but that's probably because he's a much better driver than I am, Josh.
That's fair, Jared. He's probably a much better driver than I am as well, to be completely honest, and a really nice display there of car control from everybody, and a little bit of pretty fancy racecraft from Dave Coleman there. Got himself into a battle, knew that battling chews up lap time, and managed to serve through a slowdown by the look of it from what I could see, whilst going through that battle. So some really fancy racecraft, and did a fantastic job. We flick our eyes back to the battle for 14th though, Jared, and it doesn't matter how far you move down this list of positions, the battles rage on. It is sheep stations no matter where you look in this field, and as usual tonight, three quantum cars in pretty close proximity to each other. I don't think it matters where you've looked tonight, Jared. There's been three blue and yellow cars, pretty well somewhere within the camera, as we see Ashley Hall have a huge lockup.
Just avoids the rear end of Mick Clifton there, and Clifton breathed a sigh of relief. I reckon he probably heard that one coming and was just bracing for impact, but in the end, just the barest of margins in it as Hall dropped back a couple of spots. There's not a lot in it anywhere here tonight, Josh. You see Martin runs just a little bit wide and off onto the grass. That's going to cost him some pace and also some grip as he goes
back
off
on the other side.
Yeah, back off to the other side. This is the thing, it's so high load on these tyres that the minute you step off the tarmac, you will struggle for probably the next 3 or 4 corners to just get back on the racing line unless you really scrub the speed off. And it just doesn't come naturally when you're behind the wheel to want to back off that much. But the alternative is that you do exactly what we saw there, and you end up running off both sides of the track, and you end up penalising yourself even further.
One of the other big things about tracks like this, Jared, is they're actually entirely grip limited. So, you drive absolutely as fast as you can to the grip that your tyres give you, and drivers do an incredibly good job of getting into a rhythm, and they know exactly where they've got to turn, and then exactly where they can pick up the throttle. And at tracks like this, you're often accelerating, Jared. You're often back in the throttle before you can even see for sure that you're going to make it through the rest of the corner. And you're just hoping that the grip is the same as it was the lap prior, and that's really where you can bowl a wide on the exit of the corner. It's so easy. In a big long corner, you grip limited the whole way, and suddenly you've got two wheels in the grass, and once they're in the grass, it's all over. But what's not all over, Jared, is this battle for first. We saw there Logsdale had a big slide on the way out of the chicane. Wayne Walker all over the back halfway through this race, so it's taken him somewhere in the vicinity, Jared, of 10 laps, probably 8 laps since I last looked, to pull down a 1 second gap. So Logsdale's fast this race, and there's no doubt about it. And he's in the box seat. It's the pressure is on Wayne Walker to get a pass done. Dean Logsdale has been racing really, really well, and we see there that example of a grip limited car. They absolutely fly through that left-hander and just wait for the car to settle on the tyres and grip up and do the turning. But these guys are in for a really good battle for the rest of this race, Jerry.
And to give you an idea of just how much these guys are on the absolute edge, you saw Wayne Walker actually dip those left-hand side tyres under full load, I reckon probably about an inch off the side of the track there, and you're talking 2 centimetres in the new money just for those who need the conversion. But like, to be able to push at this level, to be pushing so hard and have the car completely loaded up, and just have faith that you're gonna have the tyres come to you and grip up at the point where you just start to run off the track. That's what separates these front runners in Logsdale and Walker from effectively the rest of the pack at the moment. They are absolutely on the limit of what the track has to offer, but still in total control.
Yeah, they are, and it's it's always close, and it is one of my favourite parts about racing, Jared, is when you're entirely grip limited in a corner and you've just got your trust in the car, and you know lap after lap after lap that you're going to put two tyres all the way to the outside of the curb, and you're probably going to be, like you said, a couple of inches from entirely destroying the lap. And the car and the race, but you just do it lap after lap after lap, and it is so much fun. You see there, Palmer had a huge slide in the middle of that corner. So, if you think that these guys aren't still pushing, it looks reasonably sedate on the outside. But that corner there, that's one that I've been looking at all night, Joe. That's the very end of these big, long, never-ending rights, and then all of a sudden, you've just got to push the car as hard as you can and trust that running it out onto a ripple strip isn't going to be the last thing that you do.
Absolutely spot on. Let's go on board with Wayne Walker. To your point, this is an idea of just how much work they're doing to maintain this, and bearing in mind how smooth it looks from the outside of the cars earlier with Logsdale Walker pushing as hard as they are. Just watch the wheel for Wayne Walker, just how much he's adjusting through every single turn as he just approaches the grip limit and feels it out and then brings it back ever so slightly from overstepping that grip limit. You can see him just testing the tyres, just asking for a little bit more, big oversteer correction there to keep it straight as he hits that bump and it unsettles the rear, and it's like nothing happened at all on the outside of the car, but you can tell from the steering inputs just how hard he's working to keep this car on the absolute limit and tucked in behind Dean Logsdale. He's going to look for an opportunity here to the chicane, pokes the nose on the right hand side, just tries to unsettle Dean Logsdale. Logsdale, for his part, moves across, gets on the brakes and really just covers off the opportunity for Wayne Walker. And you can see a big oversteer correction, couple of them in fact on the way back out there, gives you the best view you can imagine of just how much work goes into making the car look as smooth as it does from the outside, because when we switch back to the outside, knowing what's going on inside those cars, it looks like they're out for a Sunday drive.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's that's kind of how you want it. It's it's a little bit like the analogy of the duck, Jared. It's everything looks cool, calm, and collected. It's underneath the surface that all the paddling actually happens, and I can assure you that for as much as these cars look in control, and they are, but they are as close to being out of control as these guys can possibly drive them, because that is how you extract the most pace out of a supercar.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I appreciate the kind words, Ninja. The graphics are an interesting little mix to try and give you the best picture quality. It's something we pride ourselves on here at Simple Racing Broadcast, is making it look as good as it possibly can from our screen to yours. I'll be honest, I'm not going to give away the exact combination because it seems to be a winner, and I don't want that getting out there, honestly. But if you like what you're seeing, then yeah, absolutely get in touch if you've got a league that you want to broadcast at this sort of level, because I would love to have a chat to you about organising some coverage for your league as well. Simple Racing Broadcast always trying to bring the very, very best quality that we possibly can to every bit of coverage. And it's not hurt by the fact that we've got some amazing quality racing happening on track, as we see Vigar and Fu go side by side through the chicane. They spread out on the exit, but Fu has set himself up nicely on the inside. Turn one, slides it through and really slides across in front of Rick Vigar, who probably has the better grip there on the way out. This is the battle, mind you, for P20 at the moment, so it's going on up and down throughout the field. Trying to make sure that we don't miss any of it is by far the hardest part of covering Alliance Sim Racing each and every week, because there is always something for us to cast our eyes over. Jason Benson, David Coleman, another of those battles. Mark Poynton hanging on to the back as well. And look, these three, it looks like so much space, but at the speed you're going down this back part of the track, it's really only a couple of tenths in it. Coleman taking a very different line there to Jason Benson, just looking for a slight advantage on the way through if he can find it. And immediately behind this group, Ryan Palmer heads up another four-way battle with Jamie Dyke, Mark van der Kraan and Jim Caperonis all locked in behind him. And all four of these drivers as well, pretty evenly matched on pace on any given day. It's really just a question of how they maintain it over the next 5 laps to the checkered flag.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jamie Dyke looked like picked up a slowdown on the last lap. I expect it would have been through the chicane. So that bought just a couple of tenths of breathing room for Palmer. But, I'm pretty surprised, Jared, by the way that these guys have been locked in such intense battle for so long with such little movement in positions. You cast your eyes across the top 10 and there's been hardly any change at all. It's just been absolutely flat out racing for 15 laps.
Yeah, it absolutely has. And this is the problem with the track. Wayne Walker's picked up a slowdown there. That's going to be a massive boon for Dean Logsdale in front. That yellow flag on the timing tower indicating slowdowns. Jason Benz cops one as well, so an opportunity for David Coleman and Mark Poynton perhaps to capitalise there. And we'll jump forward to take a look at this, because Benz is going to have to try and hold them off as he burns off however many seconds of slowdown he's been issued. It is really, really tough to maintain the sort of intensity that you're seeing from these drivers over such a long period of time. It's one thing to be, in a battle and push someone to the limit and force an error, and while they sail off into the fence, drive away and enjoy your hard-fought position. But to sit within what is effectively 2-3 tenths of a driver in front of you for lap after lap after lap after lap, and never back off from that, and still never get the pass done, it takes a very special kind of driver to actually, keep that pressure on and not back off to give themselves a little bit of, maybe extra breathing room and a little bit of room for error. These guys are not looking at any kind of margin whatsoever. What they're interested in is 100% pushing every step of the way to that checkered flag in the hope of picking up that extra spot or two. There's just no backing off, is there?
It's not, and it's a huge skill for the leading car as well, Jared, because all of your mirrors are just chock-a-block full of car moving left and right. And,
beautiful move from Allman.
Making sure, great move from Allman. You're absolutely right. He's down the inside. He should get this closed off at 1. But making sure, Jared, that you drive your race and hit all of your markers while you've got a car, a couple of centimetres from the bumper bar is a huge challenge and takes a lot of concentration, and a great move from Allman, but great defence there from Mick Clifton as well. That was really good racecraft to get that back.
Awesome example of what you've just said in terms of the skill it takes to be in front of one of these packs. Mick Clifton, didn't blink. The fact that Allman got up alongside him, no problems at all. He's just absorbed that and continued to push hard enough that Allman just couldn't hold with him. And now he starts to open the gap up a bit, and all of a sudden Luke Allman needs to worry about Joel Lustoval and James Hardy behind him.
Hardy goes it down the inside.
Right across. He's going to go very, very wide there. He's going to be lucky to get it back on track. Does so brilliantly, but Lustoval gets the breathing room, and all it's done is cost them both a bit of time. Further up, have a look at this going on. David Coleman, Jason Benz, Mark Poynton locked into it. Ryan Palmer's caught these three as they battled it out. Now it's going to be 2 wide by 2 as we get into what is definitely one of the harder sections of this track to negotiate, side by side especially. Coleman and Benz going side by side through it. Mark Poynton barely maintaining a lead over Ryan Palmer. Behind him, Jamie Dyke, Matt van der Kraan and Jim Caperonis now into the battle. And all of a sudden, this battle for fourth is actually 6 cars. Call that 7 now, as we see down the back of the group. Jim Caperonis makes 7, and all of a sudden David Coleman, he's 10 seconds off the podium, but he is only about 7 tenths off dropping to 10th here if he does make the error. Thankfully buys himself just a little bit of breathing room. But have a look at this battle through these fast right-handers. Everyone stacking up and looking for just a little bit of an edge, a different line. Ryan Palmer ducks to the inside. He's going to try and get alongside Jason Benz here at the chicane, and he just might do it. Jamie Dyke's there waiting to pick up the scraps. Ryan Palmer's going to have to be brave on the brakes here because he wants to force Jason Benson. They go through side by side. Palmer gets pushed off to the right onto the grass. He's going to pick up a slowdown there, and he'll have to drop back through this pack as he starts to burn it off. He's going to do everything he can to stay ahead. Jamie Dyke looks to go around the outside. Matt Vanderkraan right on tail. Dyke, a massive moment, manages to keep it straight somehow, and that's allowed Ryan Palmer just a little bit of room to clear that slowdown. What a half lap that was for this crew. In the background, Jim Caperonis and Jamie Dyke side by side. Something's got to give here. What's it going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. That was some really tough racing. Ryan will be frustrated about getting bumped out wide, but that is just a part of racing at this track. Dean Logsdale doing his best to absolutely chuck this one away. I don't know if you noticed there, Jared. He had the rear left in the grass when he turned in, and it just broke sideways on him. But these guys have just continued lap after lap after lap to circulate at the same speed. And I've been watching their lap times, Jared. Obviously, they haven't moved, but that is absolutely testament to Dean Logsdale. He is no faster than Wayne Walker, there's no doubt about it, but he is just fast enough that Wayne Walker can't put a move on, or certainly hasn't been able to this point. And these two are doing an absolutely bang-up job of demonstrating just how well you can race together when you just focus on racing clean and not, sticking noses up beside people and, rattling on rear bars and stuff like that. These guys doing an absolutely bang-up job, and a team between cars 180 NFA. So that'll be that move at the chicane where Palmer got bumped out wide.
As we see Logsdale and Walker heading for the end of the final lap here, Logsdale has done an absolutely brilliant job to hold Wayne Walker off. He's been doing it for about 10 laps. He knows he's just got the chicane to go. Walker's going to try everything to get through here at the last minute. It looks as though Logsdale's going to try and really shut him down. And here we go across the line. That'll be the checkered flag. Dean Logsdale. Wayne Walker picks up the late slowdown. He's going to have to burn all of that off, and you'll see him back right off to make sure that he doesn't pick up the penalty. But he'll come home in second and keep his championship hopes on track. Andrew Rushworth comes home in third. Now David Coleman still battling it out as they come through the chicane for the last time. Look at this, 3 wide at the finish. David Coleman, Mark Poynton and Jason Bentz, nothing in it. Ryan Palmer, Matt Vanderkraan and Jamie Dyke behind them. In the end, a grand total of 900th of a second. David Coleman finished ahead there. James Hardy picks up a late slowdown. He's going to want to burn that off. He doesn't get there. That'll be a black flag. And so there will be a penalty applied. So James Hardy will drop further back through the field as he has that applied to him after the race. But Dean Logsdale, what a drive for him right through, and he'll celebrate rightfully so by using up what little is left on those tyres. It gives you an idea of just how bad the surface is here, honestly, at Thruxton, that he's struggling to keep it on the track as he does so. Because it has been a long drive for Dean Logsdale. He's had Wayne Walker on his tail for, if I'm not mistaken, 10 laps as he again struggles to keep it under control. I think he's just a little bit excited, Josh, and rightly so.
Look, all I'll say is that I'm glad that Dean Logsdale is better at racing than he is at doing burnouts, because it hasn't been the world's best display of burnouts, but it was right up there with the world's best display of very fun supercars driving. He has done an absolutely fantastic job tonight. And it's not easy to keep anyone behind you, Jared, for that long, let alone Wayne Walker, who we know is so incredibly fast. So, yeah, absolutely bang-up job. All the congratulations in the world to Dean Logsdale and to Wayne Walker as well. Let's be honest, an absolutely fantastic showing of good quality racecraft.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I think that's exemplified by the battle going on between Wayne Walker and Dean Logsdale there. Take a look at the gap back to Andrew Rushworth. Still another 5 seconds off the back of Wayne Walker, despite everything that Logsdale and Walker were throwing at each other. Really does speak to just how full-on the racing was out in front, and just how well executed it was right throughout. Andrew Rushworth, though, picking up a third place there. David Coleman just outside, and look at the gap there, nothing in it between Coleman and Poynton for 4th and 5th. Jason Bentham, Ryan Palmer, not too much between them either, and also Matt Vanderkraan only a couple of tenths behind Ryan Palmer. Jamie Dyke almost looks like he's a long way back, but it's only another second back from Vanderkraan. Jim Caparona sneaks into the top 10 as well. What a huge set of races here tonight. A bit of ribbing in the chat going on for Dean Logsdale around his burnouts, and look, probably rightly so. We'll give him that. But hey, that's the way it goes. If you're going to win races, I don't think you can really be given too much stick for how your burnouts go afterwards. I reckon Dean Logsdale probably feeling just a little puffed after all of that. We'll check in with him in just a moment. We'll kick off tonight with a chat with Andrew Rushworth coming home in 3rd in that final race. Andrew, how are you, mate?
Yeah, buggered after all that. That was quite an ordeal.
It looked like hard work from our perspective, that's for sure. And considering the gap ahead, I don't think it really speaks to just how much work you were doing out on your own there, just to keep it on track. How was the track at Thruxton tonight?
I burnt my tyres up by about lap 11, so I'm doing something wrong.
Oh, look, I think that's probably aligned to what I've expected from tonight, from everything that I've been told about how this track goes over that number of laps. It's not surprising at all to hear. What was the strategy? How did you try and overcome that tonight?
Race 1 was a bit of a disaster with getting caught up in an incident lap 1. I just got heaps of front end damage and steering damage, so I didn't want to have to pit, so I just sort of dealt with it, and thankfully it was a full reverse grid for race 2, so I kind of ended up more towards the front, and thankfully somehow missed all the chaos that happened in there and got some clean air, and finished race 2 in P3, and then I don't know what happened in race 2. Don't know what happened in race 3, but Jason Benz had heaps of pace in race 2, and then just dropped off behind me in race 3. He mentioned after the race that it felt like he had worn tyres for the start of the race, so I don't know. Once I sort of got a decent gap to P4, I knew I wasn't going to catch Dean or Wayne, so I just wanted to bring it home with a 0x and P3. That was good enough for me.
Well, mate, mission accomplished. A great little drive there, and some good points for you and for Accelerate Sim Racing. Well done. Congratulations on the results, and a bit of love coming through for you in the chat as well, mate. A very, very solid drive there to take out 3rd in the final race. Congrats again.
Thank you very much.
Andrew Rushworth takes out P3 for the final race of the evening. We'll go to his teammate Wayne Walker, who, despite his best efforts, just couldn't get there in the end, and just couldn't quite get past Dean Logsdale. Wayne, welcome back to the booth, mate. Great to have you with us once again.
Yeah, thank you.
It would have been hard going, I'm sure. We don't need that confirmed by anyone else, I think, tonight. But a massive battle. I reckon probably about 10 or 12 laps there by my count that you were stuck to the back end of Dean Logsdale. Was there anywhere that you thought you had him and perhaps it just got away from you, or was it just all out right throughout race 3 there?
No, I don't know. I just don't think there's really a way through. Like, as long as, Dean was holding his line, and there's no way through. But there's nowhere on this track where you can actually get beside somebody to have a dive on them. So it's a really hard track to pass on.
Mate, that does make me feel a little bit better about how much I struggled with the track when I was out there on my own. So I appreciate the confidence boost there from you. That aside, the pace of racing here tonight. How did you find it from your perspective? It looked pretty full on. We rode on board with you for a full lap there, and noticed there's quite a lot of oversteer corrections going on right throughout the lap here at Thruxton. Probably a bit more than we're used to seeing, even from a Gen 3 supercar. Is that pretty accurate as to how it felt from the driver's seat?
Yeah, it's hard because a lot of the corners are sort of like long and sweeping, and yeah, it just overheats the tires. Like, you can't as soon as you start to push, then yeah, you just start losing the rear more, or the car won't turn into the corner. So yeah, it's hard to keep it straight.
Well, mate, you did a very, very impressive job from our perspective. Congratulations on a decent set of results here tonight. We're going to take a look at the provisional championship standings in just a moment, but I reckon you've got to be pretty happy with how it's all played out tonight, yeah?
Yeah, with the format, with the reverse grid race too, to get back up as high as I did, and then have a second in race 3, it was a pretty good result, I think.
Oh, well done again, Wayne. Congrats on the results, and we'll let you go and debrief with Andrew on a great night for Accelerate Sim Racing.
Okay, thank you.
Wayne Walker taking out P2 in the final race, and we save it for last. Dean Logsdale, welcome back to the booth, my friend.
Thank you very much, guys.
Mate, hard work, no doubt. You're under massive pressure all the way through that race. You obviously had a fair bit of a gap to start with, but I imagine you're probably watching that relative to Wayne Walker for about the first 10 laps before he caught you.
Yeah, definitely. I was trying not to push too hard to burn the tyres, and then it was a bit of cat and mouse. Very hard to overtake, obviously. I think I was quicker for a couple of sections, but he was quicker. If I pulled away, he caught up going into the last chicane, so I couldn't get away from him. And if I tried, I burnt the tyres, so it was it was challenging. It was just a case of trying not to make a mistake and going off.
Well, speaking of not making many mistakes, I don't mind at the end of our race night when we get a chance to chat to the drivers. I don't mind looking for a nice overtake or something like that to pull up and have playing in the background. Would you believe that your race was so clean in race number 3 that the only thing that's been recorded in my events list here is when you went off track with your burnouts at the end?
Yeah, well, I don't win much, you see, so that's definitely something I've got to practice, because clearly not very good at it.
Well, look,
Mate, I'll say I haven't. I was just going to say, Jared and Dean, I haven't won a single thing ever, but I assure you there is enough hoon in me that I have practiced and nailed my burnout. So all I'll say to you, Dean, is get out there, mate, and tyres don't cost anything. Just have fun ripping them off every now and then, because next time we win, I hope that we see a pretty epic smoke show.
Yeah, I'll have to get John McNamara, the boss, to give me some lessons. He won the most in the team, and I'm sure he can teach me a few tricks with the burnouts. But yeah, no, it was a great race, good fun.
Mate, good fun to watch from our perspective. A massive congratulations to you on the results. Anyone you want to give a shout out to, or any sponsors to say hello to and thank before we let you go?
Yeah, definitely. I want to obviously thank all the boys at 95 Sim Sports and our sponsors there, Racecraft Simulations, RSW Graphics, keeping the cars looking good, Track School, Track Days, Racing Ears, and in the Blade Bailin as well, Stewart's Foundation. So and you guys are putting on a good show, and all the drivers putting on some good racing. Thank you.
Mate, an absolute pleasure to watch here tonight at Thruxton. Far more exciting than I honestly expected it to be, considering how difficult of a track this is. A brilliant drive and some very well-earned points. Congrats again, Dean. We're going to let you get back to it while we take a look at the provisional championship standings.
I appreciate it. I'm going to go and do some practice. Burnouts.
Not a bad way to do it for the night. Dean Logsdale there takes the win in our final race, and I think probably not a bad set of results for him overall. But let's take a look at the provisional points from tonight's racing, and this is how it's potentially going to end up looking. Of course, there's always drop rounds to take into account. Somehow, in amongst all that, Wayne Walker has put on a massive effort, and particularly in race 2, coming from the back of the grid, to keep himself well out in front. Although that gap has come down just a little bit, if memory serves. Josh, he's down to 66 points the difference to Dean Logsdale. Matt Vanderkraan, though, only 46 points back from Dean Logsdale, and Andrew Rushworth looks to be set to creep up the leaderboard a little closer to that podium spot. So still an opportunity for 2 Accelerate Sim Racing entries on the podium. We've still got another 3 rounds to go after this. I don't think we're even remotely close to deciding on our championship winner.
No, I don't think so. And it's it's been really fantastic. Is how I would term it, Jared. So yeah, it's wide open. More racing like tonight will continue to see it get spicier and spicier as we get to those last couple of rounds.
Absolutely, it will. Of course, these standings are provisional. There's obviously drop rounds to be recalculated, but I tell you what, it gives us a very good picture as we get closer and closer to that final round, which beckons in just a few weeks' time. But we've still got plenty of racing to go between now and then, so make sure you don't miss out on any of it. The one that's going to be really interesting next week at Mexico. We're heading there for the first time. I say 3 rounds, it's actually 4. I struggle to count with these whole 10, 6, etc. We've actually still got 4 rounds to go. So we're off to Mexico next week. We've got Red Bull Ring, which is always a pretty wild one in a Gen 3 supercar. Sasha Ring is one that, I don't know about you, Josh, but I'm a little blind on that one still. I'm going to have to go put in some seat time there to understand just what lies ahead for these drivers, because it's actually not one that I've done any driving at yet. Don't know if there's anything you can shed on that for us.
No, I haven't driven there either, so that's bound to be really exciting.
So looking forward to that for round 9, and then the final round. I don't think there's a better way to finish off a year of racing than with Bathurst in supercars. I cannot wait for that on the 2nd of December. But of course, plenty of racing to get through between now and then, and I really hope that you'll all stick with us for that, because there is some amazing quality in amongst this field, and we have yet to decide on a champion. There's still plenty of time left for drivers to rack up the points. As always, Josh, it's been a pleasure to have you back in the booth. We'll see you back on track next week, I believe.
No, next week I am out altogether, so I'm not ASRing at all.
Missing out on Mexico. I don't know whether you should be excited or disappointed with that, but I guess we'll see when that rolls around next week, won't we? It's a tough track, but plenty to come. It's been a pleasure, as always, folks, to have you along with us here. Massive thank you as well to SolarGuard St. Cobain for their continued support of the Alliance Sim Racing Supercar Championship, and of course to our other sponsors, AA West Automotive, Quantum Tint Solutions, Nicol Photography, and of course 24/7 Sim Services for their amazing race control and safety car support each and every week. My name is Jared Cole. It's been a pleasure to bring this to you here from Simple Racing Broadcast. As always, do make sure that you hit the button down below, because we've got plenty more racing ahead between now and next Tuesday night in Mexico. We've got Thursday nights over on the Simple Racing Broadcast channel, and of course back with some more Monday night racing there as well before we jump on in to the next round of ASR. Do make sure you stick with us. Give us a subscribe and a like down below. It always helps, and appreciate you coming back week in, week out to watch some amazing racing here with us with Alliance Sim Racing. Until next time, though, have yourself a very good rest of your week, whatever you're doing. It is goodbye for now.